Welcome back to Anything You Want, the channel where real stories meet raw emotion, and where we look deeper into the lives behind the cameras. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe, hit that join button to support us, and don't forget to like and share your thoughts in the comments below, because today's story is one that touches the core of love, pride, and forgiveness. For months, the air surrounding Semra Arda and Gökberk Yildirim had been thick with unspoken words and unhealed wounds. The entertainment world buzzed with speculation. Some claimed they had ended things for good. Others whispered of quiet reconciliations hidden behind closed doors. Yet, through all the noise, Semra remained silent, until now. Her silence broke not with a formal announcement or a staged press event, but with a single, disarmingly honest sentence that rippled across social media like a storm. "I can't act proud anymore, there's a baby involved." That one confession changed everything. In a world obsessed with appearances and control, Semra's words shattered the wall of pride that had long stood between her and the man she once loved. It was the moment where strength and vulnerability intertwined, where she chose honesty over image and love over fear. For months, Semra had embodied the image of the unbreakable woman. Magazines called her the Silent Phoenix, fans admired her resilience, and her poise in public became almost legendary. But behind that carefully built fortress of strength, an emotional storm was raging, a battle between heart and mind, between the instinct to protect herself and the yearning to feel again. When she first learned she was pregnant, there were no tears, no dramatic gestures. She simply sat still, overwhelmed by a silence so heavy it carried every memory she had shared with Gökberk, their laughter, their heartbreak, the promises that once glowed and then faded into ash. In that quiet room, she realized that her life had just been rewritten, that it was no longer just about the two of them, but about the fragile heartbeat now growing within her. Pregnancy became her mirror, showing her everything she had hidden from herself. The pride that once protected her began to feel like a cage. Each time she heard her baby's heartbeat echo through the doctor's speakers, something inside her softened. Every ultrasound reminded her that life was pushing forward, even when love seemed stuck in the past. She understood something profound, that pride may shield you from pain, but it also locks you away from healing. It keeps you safe, but alone. And in that realization, Semra began to transform. Her anger lost its sharpness, her sadness grew quieter, and even Gökberk's silence, once unbearable, began to look different. Perhaps it wasn't coldness, she thought, but fear. Perhaps both of them had been too wounded to reach out. Though months had passed without contact, Gökberk's presence lingered in the quiet corners of her life. He was there in the songs she skipped, in the cafes she avoided, in the streets that whispered their shared memories. Semra knew he was out there somewhere, carrying the same ghosts. When the news of her pregnancy finally reached him, there was no scandal, no dramatic showdown. Just a missed call. A message read but unanswered. And then, the stillness that follows realization. For the first time, Gökberk wasn't silent out of pride, but out of fear. Fear that he might have already lost the right to be part of the most important chapter of her life. One morning, Semra looked at herself in the mirror, her body visibly changing, her soul quietly healing, and made a decision that would redefine her story. She refused to raise her child in bitterness. She decided that love, in its truest form, isn't about winning or losing, it's about preserving what matters. So she laid down her defenses. She stopped blaming. She stopped waiting. She started believing, not in fairy tales, but in timing, in forgiveness, in the possibility that life has a way of bringing back what is meant to be. Her focus shifted from what was lost to what could still be built. "What do you think?" she would later ask in a quiet interview, her eyes gleaming with calm. "Maybe the bravest thing isn't fighting to stay strong, maybe it's learning how to be soft again." When Semra reappeared in public after months of absence, the transformation was undeniable. Cameras caught her gentle smile as she caressed her belly, and the photo spread like wildfire. She wasn't the woman hardened by heartbreak anymore, she was a mother, glowing with quiet dignity. The world saw a new Semra, one who had turned her pain into grace. She wasn't fighting for a man or chasing a broken dream. She was building peace for her child, choosing forgiveness over resentment. Her words summed it up perfectly. "I'm not fighting for love, I'm fighting for a future." And that, perhaps, is the most powerful kind of love there is. For Gökberk, the truth struck like thunder wrapped in a whisper. When a mutual friend told him about the baby, the air seemed to vanish from the room. All the pride that had once anchored him now felt meaningless. For nights, he replayed every mistake, every silence that had built the distance between them. He finally understood that what he had called dignity was actually fear. That by trying to protect himself, he had abandoned the person who needed him most. The guilt was unbearable, but also transformative. He began to show up in familiar places again, the coffee shops they once laughed in, the sets where they had shared stolen glances, not to intrude, but simply to feel close to her world again. Then fate, as it often does, played its hand. One morning, on a quiet street neither expected to be on, he saw her. She passed him, radiant, her hands gently resting on the curve of her belly. Time seemed to stop. For a fleeting second, he wanted to call her name, to apologize, to take back every hurtful word. But he didn't. Instead, he watched her walk away, calm, steady, and luminous, and understood that sometimes, love means letting go, even when your heart is breaking. Semra's story is not just about celebrity gossip or fleeting romance, it's a mirror for anyone who has ever battled between pride and love. She reminds us that forgiveness is not weakness, and that sometimes the quietest choices are the most courageous. So, dear viewers of Anything You Want, what do you think of Semra's decision to open her heart again? Can love truly survive after so much silence? Share your thoughts below, we love reading your insights. And if you believe in stories that speak to the heart, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Anything You Want, and click the join button to help us bring you even more in-depth stories like this one. Because here, every story is more than news, it's a piece of life itself. Until next time, stay kind, stay curious, and remember, sometimes the greatest victories aren't about winning, they're about understanding. Thank you for watching Anything You Want.